We are here at NFT Fest with the man behind it all, one of the co-founders here, Greg Oakford, GM.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
How did you find time to sneak away from the festival today for 5 minutes to do it? It's beyond me.
You caught me in a moment of weakness because everything just went well for the last hour. Yeah. Cool. I mean, everything's gone well, but overall event planning wise, it's just, I feel calm right now.
That's good, man. We had an epic day one, lots of side events, there's lots of, talks and all that sort of stuff. What did you love most about it? Like, what do you love most about, hosting NFT Fest?
I mean, from a personal standpoint, the Kevin Rose interview for me yesterday was good. I mean, it seemed to be well received, but honestly, the biggest KPI for us, like even walking across to the bowls across the road last night with just the amount of people, when you're in event mode, and I've run events in sort of sports before, you're sort of always thinking about the next thing you got to do, the next thing you got to do. But when people come up to you and say like, this is such a good event and I'm just having such a good time, I've learnt something, there's kids floating around that are learning things. So you sort of think like, I wonder if this is like one of those moments for some of these kids that are like, 5 years ago they were at NFT Fest and now they're creating their own project or collection. So it's, as sort of cliche or corny as it can sort of sound sometimes, hearing that feedback from people is very, very sort of heartwarming and just makes it feel like all the work was worth it.
I love it. Is it too early to start talking about NFT Fest 2023?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go.
We'll skip on that question. What's one thing you'd like to add next year? Because it's been a killer event.
Yeah.
What's one thing you'd like to add next year?
Look, I think there's some sort of what we would call bells and whistles that we could do differently if we've got a longer lead time and maybe some more staff. It's sort of just the three of us running it. So, whether, a few people have asked, like, would you make the tickets to the event an NFT? And I think, we considered it before this one, but we just felt there was too much friction at this point and time. But outside of some bells and whistles, I think it's just spreading the word, right? Like this community is quite sticky. Obviously speaking to you guys, NFT APAC, Nft Melb, we've got everyone here, Oz DeFi, everyone's flown in around the country, which is just awesome. So I feel like when you get those concentric circles and you sort of build that sticky community, it starts filtering out. So, we just want more people. We've got a great turnout this time around, but we'd love more people. And hopefully we can get some of the, people that we've had. We just had Farouk and Keith Grossman. I was telling Rowdy before, it was an incredible session. So hopefully we can get a few of the Americans and Europeans to actually come out right in person. And I think today and yesterday was a stepping stone for them to see that there's actually an event in Australia that people are attending and are excited about. So sort of hopefully putting us on the map to a degree.
What do you love most about this space?
It's just, I think it's for the curiosity, right? Like it's sometimes I wake up, maybe 5% of the time and I'm like, oh man, I just wish I had like a regular routine and job and just, I just want some routine in my life because it can be so intoxicating and fast paced. But ultimately, I've given myself 1 or 2 days off, I feel like in 2022. And then within like 6 hours, I'm already listen to a Bankless podcast again or whatever. So I just love the fact that you're just constantly learning, and I think it is a space, and this week is a testament to that people are bringing each other up, right? Like people are actually know that this is a blank canvas Web3 and not all the answers are there. There's no playbook. So everyone is so collaborative, and that's what I love about it. I remember sort of going on crypto Twitter. I've been on Twitter for a long time, but it was almost like the internet was fun again, right? Like even just saying GM and just it's fun, right? Like it's not 100%. Sort of tearing people down and getting into politics and all this garbage. Like it's fun for me.
I love it. And what's one thing you would change or improve about the Web3 space?
I think it's just educating people. Like Farouk just said it then about SBF and FTX, and I've done a few interviews this week with sort of normie media, and they sort of, the first thing they want to do is go to the FTX thing, and I'm sort of moving them away to say, well, the Australian Open is actually announcing true utility with a week-long, ticket for any AO ball holder. Like we've got to separate. I know it is commingled to a degree, but we do have to separate a centralized exchange and what's happening there versus what a major sporting event is doing with digital assets. And I think making that distinguish for people is important.
I love it.
NFT APAC, connect, create, collaborate.
Woo. Done.
Let's go. GM. Welcome to NFT Fest. I'm James Rowdy, Nft Melb, and here with the amazing Ben Simpson, GM.
GM, mate, how are you?
Good, bro. How are you?
Good. What are you going to say in the afternoon when you got? He's going to be GA
Mate,
in the
GM
afternoon.
always. I say this to everyone, right? It's always GM
Always
because
GM.
we're still early.
Okay.
So how many times do you say GM?
Once a day in my Discord, and I cop it all day on Twitter, so I tend to.
So how many times? Do we reckon 5, 10?
A day?
A day.
Oh yeah, it'd be a minimum. You were saying it in the crowd. You were saying GM. You must be 20,
We're
30.
having a GM counter, so I'm just going to be like, at the end of this, just
dollar
like
per
GM. But that's cool. So Ben, this is the 5-minute podcast.
Yep.
Just tell us quickly, who are you? What did you do? What do you do?
Great question. I'm from Tassie, full-time investor and a founder of Collective Shift. So my background's entrepreneur my whole life. Quit school when I was 17 to run a sportswear business. Had no money when I was getting into crypto. Was super fascinated about Bitcoin. So I went to the bank and asked for a loan to buy Bitcoin. They obviously told me to get stuffed. Went back the next day, asked that I was just said I was going on a holiday to the US. I was just 18, had pretty much no job, and they gave me 20 grand and piled it into crypto back in the day. So I don't recommend that to anyone listening to the pod, but that was my first entry into crypto.
Wow, you had that much conviction, right?
Dude, it took 6 months to get my head around Bitcoin, but I was super blown away. The idea of decentralization, freedom of capital, the monetary policy, the printing of money. I was just completely blown away, and I put everything into Bitcoin. So that's been my journey, and now Collective Shift's kind of the vehicle for me to help educate and onboard other people into specifically crypto, like in terms of Bitcoin and ETH, and then we're sort of fledgling out into more, NFT investments as well, altcoins, things like that. Yeah.
Awesome. What do you think the biggest challenge you face or Collective Shift face in Web3 currently?
User experience, number one. So the hardware, for example, and self-storage. So we've seen everything that's happened with FTX recently. The reason people don't do self-storage is because it's so hard to do. Writing down your seed phrase and you have this ledger and USB. Like, man, I get sweaty palms when doing transactions. Like, my mum's got no chance, you know what I mean? She's in all sorts of trouble. There's no GM for her, So I think we need a lot more work to be done on the hardware side, the software, and the user experience. Like, we need like the Robin Hood for crypto. That's what we need in self-storage, in ownership, and we just need the crap that's going on with the centralized exchanges to end. And I think that's going to be the real push towards decentralization. But a lot of the DEXs and stuff is still hard to use. But I think we need to remember why we're in crypto in the first place, or I got into crypto in the first place, is to be your own bank and financial freedom. So
Yeah, love that. What's your biggest ick in Web3?
The infighting. I hate. This probably doesn't happen too much in NFT land, but Bitcoin versus Ethereum versus Solana, there's like these cults that all hate each other. And it's like we should all come together and like lead Web3 as a whole rather than trying to infight. Because the reality is, normal people don't give a flying fahooza about blockchains and like what layer ones and layer twos and who's winning. They just want an experience that actually solves a problem for them. So we need to like stop fighting and stop thinking that we're all like the best and you're the worst, and come together and just make the whole space better.
How do you explain crypto to your grandma?
Grandma and I actually have some conversations about crypto.
She's a member?
I'm like, Nan, you gotta sign on a Collective Shift. Like GM. I explain Bitcoin. I explain the idea that fiat currency and the money we use is controlled by governments, and right now, we've seen the last 2 years the government has printed trillions and trillions of dollars, and the reason why property prices are going up, asset prices are going up, cost of living is going up, in a really simple level is inflation. And Bitcoin is an alternative to that, where you've got a limited supply asset, you've got a decentralized nature, it's not owned by people, and you don't need to trust people to do certain things. It's trust by code and software. It's the purest form of money. And that's where I always start in learning about crypto, because I think Bitcoin is the purest form. And then, from crypto perspective, it's just digital money. In the end, it's digital money, and it's tokenized. It's tokens, not shares. And then we sort of get into blockchains and NFTs from there.
Beautiful. And what's one piece of advice that you could give anyone, I guess any age, wherever they are, whether been in the space for a while or they're green? What's one bit of advice that you could give the audience today?
Spend an hour, thinking about and learning about and researching about what money is. That was the real light bulb moment for me that got me into this industry. I think once you start to question what money is and what it isn't, and why the $10 note in our pocket is worth what it is, you start to understand how the world starts to work, and you realize that it's kind of controlled by central governments. You realize that wages haven't gone up in forever, and you realize why it's becoming harder and harder to buy property and buy assets and get out of the rat race. It's because fiat currency is it's worthless. Like basically, like we need to start to wrap our head around that, and then you start to get into Bitcoin and blockchain from there. So figure out what money is, and the rest sort of falls into place.
Beautiful. Guys, Ben from Collective Shift, thanks for coming.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks, bro. GM, and welcome back to the NFT Melb 5-minute podcast. We're here with Katherine, aka STEM Queen. GM.
Round 2.
GM.
We forgot to put the mic on, so we're on round 2.
Welcome to NFT Fest. What are you most excited about to see here the most?
Can I just say the talent is ridiculous. I think that Rochelle and Steve and Greg have just done a world-class job on the talent lineup that's here over the next couple of days. But can I also just say I did not expect the amount of people that were dressed up in costume. So shout out to the people that, particularly there was one person fully decked out as an apocalyptic ape. Kim Buck, you are a bloody legend.
Oh, it's Kim.
And a unicorn.
It's Kim.
Oh, wow. I was like, who is that? Is it like Chewbacca or a Yeti or something? I was like, well, someone's gone all out.
We did an interview with her.
Is it custom made?
Yeah, she custom made
Oh,
it.
wow.
And it matches her
I was
apocalyptic
outside,
ape.
like bang. She's like, I know you said today's the biggest win.
And there's also someone as a giant inflatable unicorn welcoming
saw
everyone. And if that's not really giving your all in Web3, I don't know what is. I don't know how they're going to function at Barefoot Bowls later, but kudos to the people that are dressing up.
What is your biggest NFT win at the moment? Whether it be financial, whether it be the project that you've embraced?
Well, from a project perspective, I think launching our hot sauce mint during a bear market has been, like, we're really proud of it. It's our third launch since we minted out on Christmas Day last year.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Technically our fourth, because we also did a cheeky free airdrop to all our holders. So to be this far down the road and seeing people tweet their physical hot sauce that they have minted
So how
and
does that
received
work?
it.
Yeah, how does that work, the hot sauce with the NFTs?
So what we've done is we've partnered up with the world's largest manufacturer of hot sauces. Also has the biggest collection in the world if you want to get some really, really spicy sauce. And we've allowed our holders to use their IP rights and monetize it. So they mint and manufacture as a result of that mint hot sauce. The hot sauce is not only received by our community, but also can be purchased wholesale or retail, so that we can stock that hot sauce all around the world, and that the holder, the NFT holder that minted, gets to split the profits. So it's a way to earn passive income for our holders using their IP rights during an NFT winter. It felt like the right thing to do, and I know that we're not very good at following our roadmap. We keep pulling things forward and changing
is
course,
Web3,
but
isn't
it
it?
feels like a fun thing to do right now.
What is your biggest ick in Web3 at the moment? I think that's just turns your gears. You hear it, you see it. You're like, oh, goblins, man, jeez. What is it at the moment?
Love truth, everything in the truth ecosystem. Although the gobble gobble thing, like the language freaks me out a little bit. Yeah, I can't do it. I have to say, being mansplained utility, particularly, you know, we're a complex project. We have music rights, IP rights. We have our own social platform called the Apocalypse. We have breeding. Like, we have a lot of things in our, like, a very complex utility system. But you know what the thing I care about most about our collection is Hattie's art. Like, Hattie's apocalyptic vision is just, it's everything that you could possibly want. So sometimes we just have to let art be art, and it's okay if a project's utility is just the art or just the music. And so I think that we sometimes bring too much trading and crypto and kind of venture capital kind of checklists about what's a good investment and what's not a good investment. Just buy stuff you like.
Just accepting it as art in the art form.
Yeah.
Final question. Jump in.
Yeah, final question. What do you love most about this space?
I love the community the most. I just think there's nothing quite like a room full of people that I saw this morning gather for the first time, and people that have been connecting virtually and in the metaverse for months, if not years, are meeting for the first time. And there's something about the joy and excitement of watching the community come together in real life. Like, I'm quite nervous about the after party tomorrow night. I think it's going to be an absolute riot.
Absolutely.
But community for me is the best thing about Web3. We're literally building the future together. There's 2 million of us building in Web3. There's 81 million crypto wallets. So you do the math. We're kind of we're really at ground zero, and it's great to be building relationships right now.
Awesome. Love that.
NFT Melb. Connect, create, collaborate.
Boom. Let's go.
Boom. Kieran, from probably the biggest projects in the world regarding gaming, very well known, Illuvium. Where did that name come from?
Oh, starting off with the hard one. I can't actually reveal where the name came from. It's got too much to do with
secret.
that's top secret. We haven't told anyone. It's got too much to do with the law, unfortunately, which we keep. It's probably the only thing that we keep under wraps.
Interesting. What do you think is the value that Illuvium shares most? What do you guys want to project? Is it that we're play to earn? That what is the one thing that you guys are trying to really showcase?
We want to really showcase that Web3 gaming or blockchain gaming, whatever you want to call it, can produce fun games that can compete with the mainstream. That's our biggest goal.
And in creating fun games, what aspects? What does that even mean?
So immersive, replayability, competitive, being able to have esports that go along with it, like what you're used to in the mainstream, those games when you were growing up where you just plowed stupid amounts of hours into them and you were lying to your mum and dad about what you were doing. You said you were doing your homework, but really you were playing WoW. Stuff like that. That's the type of game that we're looking to build.
Kieran, there's been a lot of, I guess, mixed reviews with the gaming community about NFTs and integration and stuff like that. What's your thoughts on that, and why do you think those friction points exist?
Because right now there isn't a single game that anyone can recommend to their mainstream friends that can compete with a Web3 game. So what's happening is they're representing these games with the word NFT, and it gets this negative connotation because you attach it with a lackluster game. Once we have, and there's a whole bunch, not just us, there's 20, 30 different titles out there that are building AAA games. And once they come out and we have the ability to say, hey, come and play this game, and it's just as fun, plus you get the ownership, plus you have potentially the ability to earn from this game, that's when it's going to change. And all of a sudden NFTs will just go to the background, and you won't even suggest that you're playing an NFT game. It'll just be, hey, come and play this game that's just as fun as the one that you're playing right now.
At the peak of the ball, every second project was building a game. And we're still saying promises of people saying they're going to build a game and promising AAA game without even knowing the scope. And you've built that. What is your biggest ick when it comes to the Web3 space, particularly around gaming? Something that grinds your gears that you see.
Exactly that. So sometimes I go out on Twitter and people think that I'm shit posting or being a bit of a troll or whatever, but I'm actually trying to protect users. And there's so many people out there that will come out and say, hey, here's my PowerPoint of this beautiful game, or unfortunately in the bull run what they were using is something even better than a PowerPoint. It was a trailer. And so you'd see 8,000 trailers out there, and we're going to build a AAA game. They wouldn't even be building the trailer, and then they would go to investors and say, now give me $50 million and I'll go and build that game. Without having a team who can build it, without having any sort of substance or background knowledge on how to build a AAA game, as you're saying. And that not only funnels users into projects where they get stuck, where they're staked and they can't move their money away from it, that hurts the ecosystem as a whole. And so for me, that's the biggest gripe out of anything.
What do you love most about this space? Like, what excites you, gets you out of bed every day?
The community and the transparency that a lot of really good projects offer, where you can literally go into a Discord and start talking to a founder after being in there for 10 minutes, right? Like that's insane. That level of transparency is not seen in Web2 gaming. And you sort of just, as a gamer, you just have to sit there, and whatever the developer wants, the developer gets, and they say they listen to the community, but they really don't. And so, yeah, that sort of that level of community feel that you get when you go into a different project is what is really, really good.
In one sentence, define the success of a gaming NFT project for you, a Web3 project. In one sentence, define the success of an NFT project.
One that delivers on its promises and is able to compete with its equivalent mainstream competitor.
Boom.
NFT APAC, connect, create, and collaborate.
Oh.
Cool. We're here at NFT Fest with the man, the myth, the legend from Australian Open, the Metaverse King, Mr. Ridley Plummer.
Thanks for having me.
Are you bouncing into today's event? How are we bouncing? I was trying to use a pun there. Very
We're
unintentionally.
serving
Are we making
everything
a
up.
racket?
We're acing it. I like this. This is good. We can just bounce this around for 5 minutes or what?
Absolutely.
This event, Metaverse Sports, what's the hot take on sporting NFTs?
I think for us, it was an opportunity to use technology for good, essentially. So we've seen so many different brands in the sports space do things that have been moments based. We're in a unique position at Tennis Australia that we don't have the rights to produce NFTs on behalf of players. Because, so like the NBA, for example, the Players Association represents the players and they can do the deals. There's no Players Association for tennis. So we had to think outside the box and do something a little bit different.
So they're all private.
Yeah, essentially we would have to go to every player individually and have them release their...
X, Y, Z.
Yep.
Right. Cool. The idea to go on Flow seems to be the blockchain for sport. Is that true? Or is that what we're all just seeing on the surface?
Look, I think we went ETH, so we chose to sort of go full Web3. I think we wanted to talk to a very crypto NFT native community, and we were moving so quickly that I think we just wanted to get into the market as soon as we could, and we were really time bound by the Australian Open starting in the middle of January, and we started our project early November last year, so we didn't really have the opportunity to talk to a lot of other, I guess, let's call them privately owned blockchains like Flow. So we just went full ETH and jumped straight in.
And are more projects now coming to you to pretty much get advice? Because you are the leading in Australia for sporting Web3. Now they're looking at you guys as the leaders and how do we go about this whole thing? Is that a common case now?
Absolutely. Whether it be other sports organisations, a lot of charities as well are sort of looking to us as to how do we use the technology to raise funds or do something creative to get out into market, or just even brands and other leagues or other teams just educating themselves in the space and having a conversation with us about what we did, how we did it, how it worked, what are we doing next, and then how they can learn from what we did.
Absolutely. And so, it's November. We're obviously coming up to the Australian Open 2023. What can we expect with the NFTs?
Yeah, so I think the last sort of 10 months for us has been a great opportunity to step back from what we did in January and actually develop something that can work well into the future, that can benefit holders as far as 25 years in advance. So what we've actually announced this morning is that every AO Art Ball owner, so there's about 4,500 AO Art Ball owners out there, every one of them will be entitled to a free pair of 7-day ground passes to the Australian Open this year.
Congratulations.
Let's go.
Awesome announcement.
Awesome.
Gee, that's
Are you going to be releasing more NFTs?
Yeah, so what we've done is model a commercial model to ensure that the project can continue into the future. So each year that's going to rely on us releasing a small amount of NFTs. We'll release about 2,500 this year that'll get added into the collection. They'll all be unique, but what we've also done to offset that a little bit is ensure that everyone that owns an AO22 art ball automatically gets an AO23 art ball. They'll automatically get an AO24 art ball, and they'll continue to grow into the future as well. Because we're then adding more into the collection, we then need to redivide the court into equal parcels again. So everyone will get re-rolled into a new position this year as well. So if you're currently under the net, which is not a great position to be, you'll get re-rolled into somewhere maybe more likely to win a match-winning point.
That is very intelligent because it then incentivizes people to pick up new balls every year instead of just having the one unique being the golden child. Have
absolutely
people they have to trade, and I'm sure you'll gamify that. What is the incentivization to gamify?
Yeah, I think gamify is a really I guess people have been gaming for years and years and years, and it really brings this community to tennis. And I think giving that gamification of the opportunity to have a match-winning ball on every match of the Australian Open, and we'll continue to grow that into more tournaments going forward, gives that sticky returnability of you own this token and it's live at all times. So whether it be through the Australian Open or other tennis tournaments throughout the year, we want people to keep returning and we want them to engage with the sport and get benefit from it year round.
What's the one feeling you want people to feel when they come to your event next year?
Oh, that's a great question.
One word.
I want them to feel as though they're getting access to something that is exclusive, but it's also available to everyone. I think that's the unique things about one of the unique things about NFTs, and our NFT in particular, is that it's accessible and attainable to anyone essentially. So membership programs for the most part are somewhat exclusive or they're unaffordable for a lot of people, but we've built a program that can be purchased by anyone at any time, 24/7, 365, and if you want to join that community, you can be part of it at any time.
Love that.
NFT Melb, connect, create, collaborate.
Boom. Killed it, bro. My man. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to NFT Melb 5-minute podcast. We're here at NFT Fest with our main man, Shan from Project GodJira.
GM guys, thanks for having me here.
No worries. And so biggest question I want to ask you today, how many times a day do you say GM?
I have never. It's funny. I've never said GM. In my tweets. I've never said GM.
Oh really?
Yeah, I'm probably
do you think
the only
it'll
one.
start today? Maybe for?
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, I've never said. It's just that I don't know. It wasn't conscious, but it's just that I sleep at weird hours. So I wake up. It's night. So I'm like, I didn't feel like saying a GM.
Yeah.
Got to change the culture.
What is your sleep schedule in Web3 looking like? What was it before and what's it like now?
I was working for Tesla before and I was doing both. So there was no pattern.
No sleep.
At least there was a pattern though. I used to sleep at 2 and wake up at 6. Now I think the pattern's there's no pattern. It's just yesterday it was after the party we went at 3, got up at 6 to come here. So there's no pattern as such now.
Yeah, wow. And do you think that affects your overall mood, mental health? You got a good handle on that?
Yeah, I think it does. The 100% I would lie if I say that it doesn't affect. But for sure, it's fun. It's 80% of the time I feel good because it's. I kind of do not indulge in with people that kind of just try to put up negative vibes. So it's almost always I interact with my holders or in Twitter, I put my my views or something. So I think I use Twitter as almost like a point of where I throw my points or anything out. So all the frustration or anything, or if at all I have, Twitter is an amazing spot that I've been using for to throw my views and stuff out, have some chats with
What
people.
do you think is the best method of engaging with your community? Because you do it really well.
I think Spaces definitely is the way. As much as you have your chat and all those things, Spaces it's hard. Bringing up people, asking questions in 1:1 kind of thing. It definitely hits hard. So I think Spaces is an amazing tool, and also to have a little more of Discord town halls or AMAs to have that little more personalized touch with your holders kind of thing, right? Because Spaces is almost open to all, but Discord is more specific to your holders. So it's more specific to your project. So we have a lot of Discord AMAs, which is not known outside, but then also I get into a lot of Spaces, for the general public.
Beautiful. Shan, drop a little bit of alpha. What's next for Project GodJira?
I think we realized one thing early on than a lot of other projects without burning a lot of our funds is that just providing utility for holders is a never-ending journey, right? So that's not how things work in NFTs. It's to have a brand value because the top projects, if we have a look, no one questions what utility am I getting. You buy Azuki because you want to feel as part of the community. When Azuki sponsored for Red Bull, you just felt proud to be a holder because you just had that swag. And no one questioned, am I getting 10 ETH worth of value by holding that NFT or 60 ETH worth of value when I hold a Bored Ape, right? But utility-based projects like ours, when we started the journey, it just what's next is the biggest thing that holders also ask. What did I get if I pay 7 ETH for a GodJira? But you twist that and change and start building your brand like Nouns or Azuki or something. It's hard. So we are working on 10 plus products at this stage simultaneously. So I'm not here to hype or anything, so that's why I don't tweet about it. I normally tweet more about my views on Twitter. When the product is out, I want people to directly see it, rather than me like, oh, this is coming, that's coming, but rather you'll see when the product is out. So, we are more moving towards building the brand aspect to it than just utility aspect.
What is the one thing you think Web3 projects are missing right now?
I think people who know how to handle money. I think, how handle funds. You're giving $3-4 million to people who have never even seen $100,000 or how to handle it. Transparency is also something that's extremely missing in the space. So I think that's something that we think should change, and we are taking a step towards it to build a platform that's going to help new projects come out to be a part of that platform, and also for a Web3 crowd to just jump in, cast their oaths or stuff for certain projects after certain analysis are done. So I really think the transparency aspect is what's missing.
Final question, 10 seconds. Describe the NFT Australian scene in one word.
Amazing.
Oh, there you go.
Twice. NFT Melb, connect, create, collaborate.
Boom, let's go.
Boom, we are live. We are here with Kyall from Upside Down. Epic event last night, epic event the week before with Danielle. Are we continuing to do events? What are we doing with that space?
Hey, thanks Daniel, thanks Rowdy. Good to be here. Yes, the plan is absolutely we want to do more events. So the investment we made into Upside Down Cremorne is that it's a platform for people to come and build their businesses on top of, whether that's a protocol, whether that's someone who is building something in the media or entertainment space. Come and use it, run events, share your stories. Absolutely want to hear from you. We want to do more with you.
What type of projects are you looking to bring into the conglomerate of Upside Down? So you got gaming in there. I see Z1's been in there.
Legal.
You got everything.
Everything.
Yeah, so we just to borrow from the TradFi professional services, we're like mutually exclusive, comprehensively exhaustive. So we want people who are independently doing really exciting things, but we think the value comes when we bring all of that together. And from a creativity, a innovation perspective, getting all those different perspectives is really valuable. So mixing creatives with the technical people, with the commercial people, we think that melting pot of people from different domains, different walks, different perspectives, what we get is really exciting innovations to take us forward.
Absolutely. So just want to address the elephant in the room. How many times do you say GM a day?
GM. More now. More now that I see you more often, Rowdy. You got me really excited on the GMs, mate. I love it. I actually think. There's so much negativity and FUD in the space, in the world. The macro is awful. Just waking up every day, it's like the gratitude thing and saying GM, like, just gets everyone a little bit excited. Reminds us that we're all here, like we're united. And I love a good GM. Yeah,
love it.
Your personal NFT purchases, what has been your biggest win?
Ooh, biggest win. I would say, I've got a few Top Shot. Rowdy and I have talked about this. I was fortunate enough to be early enough. There certainly were others earlier. I was early enough to be in the Discord and talking to Pranksy and a lot of the others who ended up going on to mint a bunch of apes, and I was just like, what are they doing? Like, this is regression. So that was something that's, for me, like I treasure that as well, because it is what introduced me to NFTs and got me excited about this great use case for blockchain technology.
Got a lot of people excited. That was a big launch pad for a lot of people, because they understood, okay, if the NBA, LeBron James is getting involved, and there has to be some legitimacy to this.
Yeah, I think it's really, it introduced the concept of how digital and physical can evolve. And it was during a time when we were in COVID. So how do we stay engaged with brands? How do we consume entertainment? But then understanding that when the world opens up, holders of these things, it's almost like a value of your fandom to a degree. So that's something that really excited me about that. And I do, NFA, but I do really I think I'm long NBA Top Shot. I do think that it's a great project that's building and can see a future for it. But personally, for me, I'd say like a lot of them are gateways. So whether it's financial gain, it's more around like something that I bought that unlocked a community, unlocked a learning experience. Like there's a guy, Des LaCreche, he's an artist in the US, and I spent a lot of time in his Discord. Amazing community, learnt a lot about that. But then I met other people that launched. Alpha Dog was a project that launched, and I bought those tags. And I remember I was away with my family, and I hadn't been offline for a few days, and I went on and just looked at the sales bot and was like, oh my goodness, like this thing's rocketing off and everyone's buying it. So I did take a little bit off the table with that one.
DAOs in general, what is the one thing people are doing wrong with DAOs? What aren't they getting right?
If I had to pick one thing, and I do say this often, I do think DAOs ironically are very, they lack autonomy, despite it being in the name. I think with many things we move in extremes, and what's great about DAOs is they introduce this concept of like flat organizations and everyone feels empowered to do something. But I think what we do is we not all decisions need to be voted on all the time, and we do need some direction at times. So one of the things that we've done with Upside, and we learnt really early on, was what we need to do is put people who have the skills and the appetite in a position to be successful. So we push autonomy.
Describe that success in one word for Upside DAO.
What it means is that we can look at more teams. So teams come to us because they want cash. They need fundraising and they want support. And so what it means is we can look at more teams. We can assess who we think is a great team, that they're committed to building something sustainable. And so we can get through more teams. We can make more deals and support more people because we actually push autonomy to the people in our DAO who are best positioned to look at gaming or DeFi or Web3
playing
tooling.
on people's strengths.
Absolutely,
That's
yeah.
a 5-minute podcast.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
That's a wrap.
NFT Melb, connect, create, collaborate.
Boom, let's go.
Some call him a bird, we call him the giant swan. Giant swan.
Oh,
what's
I
cooking?
like that. That's a good one. Bird playing a giant swan.
What's happening? What is cooking in your world? I've seen you on Instagram. What are you utilizing for technology to do your artwork right now? What is that?
All right, so right now I am still thrashing around VR, creating shapes and color out of my movement. Right now, I'm ready to deploy a massive monolith in Basel, Miami. Just next week.
Tell us about that. What is that?
Awesome. This is giant
monolith.
LCD screen, which is presented as a monolith with bits of art inside it.
What is a monolith?
So like it's a monolithic structure, it's a massive erection, and it's it protrudes from the ground and dominates a space. It's monolithic.
How big is it?
It's like 3-4 meters up.
Oh wow,
that's a big
erection.
erection.
This is a live painting at Art Basel?
It's not a live painting, but it is a live installation. Yeah.
Oh, wicked! That's cool.
Yeah. So
where do you usually draw your inspiration for the thrashing of your artwork?
Life, music, anything and everything is fair game when you're an artist. So, it's my job to like collect inspiration.
And did that change when you started moving into Web3 and started minting and putting them as NFTs?
Web3 enabled me to do it with freedom. So it's purely my language, and that conversation exists with the collectors. So it's a freedom aspect of Web3 that enhances everything.
What do you love the most about Web3?
I love the direct connection with my audience. They are able to communicate directly with me instead of through a middleman.
So what was that like beforehand, and how did it change? What does that look like on a day-to-day? Before NFTs and Web3, what was the connection like? And then how did it move, and what's it like now?
So before, my support was through likes on Instagram. Now I can afford my power bill. So I've gone from...
Wow. Yeah, that is a very good summation.
Cool. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
Cool. Your favorite NFT outside of what you've created?
My favorite NFT is a pair of voxel sneakers from Crypto Voxels, and it was made by a guy called No Shot. It was probably the first wearables that everyone was frothing back in 2019.
The Australian scene for art, what do you think is missing compared to the world, being an international artist?
The Australian scene for art is actually thriving right now. Like, we have some of the best digital artists in our space, and they're all like succeeding on their own. I'd love to see more togetherness and collaboration between those artists there. That's probably.
And how do you think that will happen? What needs to happen? Perhaps a better question.
I think that's a curation issue that is, that's being solved by places like Oshi and things like that. Bringing together artists with meaningful curation is a lot more important than it sounds. Yeah.
What do you think the biggest challenge is that artists face in this Web3 space?
If you're an artist coming into the Web3 space right now, you are up against well-seasoned marketers and the trends of social media, which run completely counter to becoming a successful artist. So you need to master things that are outside your realm and your practice of what your craft is to succeed.
What are your thoughts on the term, it's better to document than try to create?
I think that kind of runs similar to a mantra that I love, and that is progress is participation. Participation is progress. Without that, you're not moving. So moving forward, it's important to create, I think.
Do you believe in the philosophy that you're always either moving forward or backwards?
Yes, definitely. Like life's a dance, so you take steps backwards sometimes, you take steps forwards, but the song keeps going.
What's the most recent step forward, a step backwards to take a step forward?
The step backward for me is fighting that urge to do everything myself. So I'm held back by my own limitations. I actually need a lot of help. If you guys need work, come past the studio. I've got plenty to do.
Look after you.
NFT Melb, connect, create, collaborate.
We're at NFT Fest, and we've got the infamous Dalton in the building. Dalton,
yes.
What is the one NFT you're never going to drop?
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Put me on games around here. We go straight into it.
Put me on the spot like that. My bloody faces.
I've never heard of that NFT.
Yeah, it's one of those Fight Legend ones, right? And I think Fight Legends is going to be pretty awesome at some point in the future.
Tell us how that came about. How did you end up getting connected to Fight Legends?
Oh, right. So I was, when I just started investing in startups in like, I think it was like 2020 or something. Megan Henderson, who was their CMO at the time, we connected with her to do some to do some marketing, and a friend of mine, Anton, who was the manager of Fight Legends, he goes, "Hey, you got to come and work on this with me." And I've worked on so many things with Anton for the last 15 years, just like in real world, and that's how I ended up with it. And
they ended up partnering up with the creator of Street Fighter 2. So that's how I found out about them, and then we ended up connecting and we did that event together.
Yeah.
Are you still investing into gamified projects?
Man, I'm not investing in shit right now.
Smart move, bro. It's a smart move.
Dude, I'm in so deep right now. I won't be investing in anything until at least March. But I'm deeply invested in a lot of gamified projects. And the last project that I invested in that's a gamified project, actually the last two was Swallow. And they're like a bunch of tattoo artists that's come up with
Swallow
this.
Digital?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Swallow, yeah.
What is the criteria that you usually check off when looking at these projects that people don't usually think of? So we know the team, we know the founders that are cool. What are the things that you particularly look at that's different to every other VC?
Okay. I look for income streams.
ROI.
Yeah. So I want to know how you're going to make money. Is it just some project that's waiting on some hype for speculation, or do you have some real revenue streams? How much are there? Like, how many of them do you have? I look for that. Unless the project now has revenue streams, I'm not going near it.
Do you think that what's the biggest challenge you think that founders currently facing when sinking VC funding? Is it just lack of experience? We're launching their own project. What is the biggest challenge you see that keeps coming up?
In the last 6 months, finding VCs with money
Yeah, right. Wow, there's the mic drop moment.
Do you think a lot of VCs are moving overseas from Australia? Are they coming in? What's the landscape and ecosystem looking like here?
I think a lot of people are coming in. There's some really amazing projects that are being built in Australia right now. I think Australia is always a bit of an underdog with a lot of things, right? But I just think there's some really, really cool people here and people with integrity that want to actually build something that is worthwhile and that will last. So I'd say that a lot of people are coming in. And at our company, Yorkshire Capital, we're actually in the final stages of setting up a fund. So to be a registered fund that's going to specialize in deploying capital in Web3 projects.
So what's the difference between a register fund and a normal particular fund?
So people just go and they start a fund, right? And saying that we're going to invest in, and it doesn't have like Australian Financial Services license registration, so or the equivalent in whatever country it's from. So we essentially have an AFSL, so we'll be able to do all the compliance and we have a fund manager and all the different pieces that you would have if you were going to invest your super, hypothetically speaking.
What are you enjoying most about NFT and Web3? Right?
Coming to your events, bro.
Oh, let's go. There it is. What a gentleman.
What I'm enjoying the most, aside from coming to your events, because they really are fun, is discovering how to implement NFTs in real life. And how that looks, and how to actually do it effectively. That's the part I'm excited about, because it's not as simple as there's an NFT, let's get it in real life. It doesn't work that way. So yeah.
Final question: what's your biggest ick in Web3?
Grind your gears, keeps you up at night.
The thing that grind my gears are people that talk shit. You know, it's just like so many people that talk shit. Like, if you say you're gonna do something, do it. And if you're not gonna do it, tell the people that you said you're gonna do it to that you ain't gonna do it no more. It's called fucking integrity. Just like
say the camera, let the person know.
Oh my god! No, I'm gonna tell. I'm not calling names, man. But yeah, NFT Melb, connect, create, collaborate.
Oh, beautiful. We're here at NFT Fest with the devious Jeeva from Helix Collective. How are you, GM?
Good, mate. Good.
How did you get the name Helix Collective? How did that come about?
So I love to put a backstory on this. The real truth is that, like, it was just something that a bunch of 21-year-olds thought was fucking cool, and we went for it. But the backstory and the lore that I've like spun around it is that, like, it's Helix, it's DNA, and we're like injecting important DNA into new builds and 0 to 1s and bringing stuff to market.
That's awful. Here I was thinking it was just like helium, and like chuck it next to them, make it Web3.
I thought he's just like into fucking archaeology or something like that, fossils. He's like, oh yeah, let's go.
So what is your biggest ick in Web3? What grinds your gears?
Biggest ick in Web3 is grifters.
What?
Like just like they bring nothing new to the space, right? Like I said, like we're just gonna clone this protocol and just like launch it, but we're just literally just copy paste, let's go, and add nothing new, add no real extra value in. They're just sort of like jumping on the hype, jumping on the bandwagon, which happens in a bull market. So it's why I love bears, because
what is the most innovative project you think you have built or you're building? Product.
Yeah. So I'm a DeFi guy, so that's where I spend most of my time. I love
How it's DeFi.
And yeah, like I just love stuff that's really like breaking the back of traditional monetary systems and just traditional trade. Uniswap, I think, is fucking genius. Oh, I can't swear, right?
Yeah.
Web3.
Yeah, Uniswap, like, as in just to geek out for a sec, it's just so clever, right? Like, as in, you have like if you want to go and be a market maker on the ASX, fucking forget it, right? You got to be an Optiva as part of the Optiva cartel. You got to have heaps of capital. You got to get a server in the building. While here is like, there's this, a token pair I think is cool. I just, bond it, throw it in, and there you go. I'm an LP. Like, it's not just trading. It's like every actor in the ecosystem. And just that like way of thinking about it, just that way of sort of coming at it from this like game theoretic perspective. In the same vein, Frax, this is a stablecoin. I think is like severely underrated and a really cool ecosystem.
Cornering markets. Can you explain it? And what are your thoughts on cornering?
Cornering markets. I don't even know what that means. Sorry, you got to use more words for my smooth brain.
We inject a bunch of liquidity into a project, then we pull it out, so it looks like the whole thing's dumped.
Oh well, like you get the good with the bad, right? Like I said, it's like in an ideal world that wouldn't happen, but it's like I don't know. My medium to long term view is that stuff like this, we'll just learn to spot it and we'll just learn to be better about it. And, we won't take it as a signal that the project's good in the future. We will actually know that that's just, and, we have all the on-chain data. So, it should get to the point where it'll be called out early.
Being a venture studio, what's the biggest challenge that you guys currently face in this market?
His next words.
I love to say something profound, but it's kind of been the opposite. There's just been insane opportunity. There's just like lots of cool. Really cool ideas, really cool stuff popping up, and we're somewhat fortunate, as in we haven't had our dry powder sort of disappear. So we're in a position where we're actually kind of like intelligently investing and like investing in things that we want to work on, not just scrambling to make ends meet.
When investing, what is the one thing that you look at that's different to everybody else?
I don't know if this is different to everyone else, but the only thing I care about is the humans behind it and how passionate they are about the project. So like I actually like other chatting to other investors, they were like, I got the charts and this and analyzing the market. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I invested in that because,
Guy was cool. Wraps up the 5-minute podcast.
NFT Melb, connect, create, collaborate.
Boom. Well, we are here at NFT Fest with the lovely Leanne from the New Zealand Rugby.
That's right. You nailed it. Yep.
Great and powerful. What has happened most recently in New Zealand? There's been a bunch of celebrations.
That's right. We our Black Ferns team actually won the World Cup, Women's World Cup. Yep, winners.
That's good. Were you a part of the celebrations?
I actually wasn't up in Auckland. I was actually too nervous to go to the stadium itself, so I stayed home and watched on TV. The fingernails are much shorter, but man, what it's not always about just the final, but what a tournament. I think we're here to talk about Web3 and things more broadly. It feels like a watershed moment for women's sport. We've seen Wembley sold out. We've seen Camp Nou sold out in football, and now we've seen Eden Park sell out for
another one.
Yeah.
Another one.
Good to see.
Exactly.
You guys have done something very different.
Yep.
Talk about the world of Women Galaxy in 20 seconds. Why did you decide to purchase 33 NFTs?
We've spent a long time researching, I think, Web 2 brands' entrance into Web 3 space, and it's mixed. Some people have done it really well and some people have not. And I think really it came down to like a philosophy of participate before you create. Really learn and respect the space, understand the space before you try and take part. And I think there's something about bringing value rather than trying to drag value out that's inherently Web3. So that's really how we tried to approach it.
How are you taking that to the world? Because obviously that was a world showcase. This is a bit about us. How are you, balancing that between the players as well? What's their involvement?
And look, there's a spectrum of how the players are involved in the Web3 space. Some of them have no clue around Web3, and some of them are into the space, and then some of them have been burnt early. Like we all have. But really, when I say learning, it's learning for the organisation, but also for the players. And I think that's honestly, it was not a PR stunt to say that we're learning. We are learning. We're learning about policies. We're learning about how players want to be involved. We're learning about our role as an organisation with who are our creators, our players, and how that all fits together. And nothing is solved yet, but this is the exciting thing, is that we're here to try and discover that.
What direction are you guys taking this? Like, blockchain, I guess, technology, how does that apply to, rugby and I guess sport in general? What direction are you guys taking that?
Well, I think when you look at what sports has become today, is really, it's entertainment. It's competing with whatever else we want to spend our time doing. And when you look at the younger generations, we obviously know that this is, more and more digital. I think when we look at Web3 technology, I think from an exciting point of view, the ultimate engagement tool is ownership, right? If you can own a piece of it, you're more engaged than you've ever been before. So I think that's an exciting space that we want to obviously explore, how we can get ownership into the hands of our fans. And I don't mean that as in owning the company necessarily or anything like that, but things that they can own and that are theirs.
Are you planning on incentivizing the community in the future? So they own the piece.
Yeah.
What are we doing with it now?
Yeah. Like, what is the utility and that kind of thing? And I think
not so much the utility, but what's keeping them coming back?
Yeah. I think it already what is keeps them coming back. It's like it's not necessarily what we're doing, right? So our fan base is completely global, but it also transcends our sport. We've got stats and data that shows 42% of our fan base don't like rugby, don't follow rugby, right? So what can we do there? And I think the difference that what I've seen traditionally from sports so far is that, they just go, well, Top Shots 2.0, right? And that's no shade on that, because I think there's very much a space for that. It's quite obvious, like that's, just apply the Web3 technology and off you go. But I think there's a really a creative or innovative space that we can explore new IP. How can sport go into the other realms of entertainment, and how can it mix with art and mix with the other things that we love to do?
So what's an example you've seen on that, or are you wanting to build?
I think we're starting to see examples of it. One extreme end of it is, the people that are congregating around sport, Kraus House, the DAO that's coming together to try and own a team. We're seeing that now in Sail GP also, and then there's WAGMI United. That's an extreme end of the spectrum, right? But I think we're starting to see this kind of exploratory around the edges or the fringes of people that love sport that are coming together to do something else.
What do you think is the biggest challenge you face in being a woman in Web3? And what do you want to see more of being from a woman's perspective in Web3?
Yeah, I think, look, you're fortunate in some ways, because there is now a moment again where people will listen to you because, you're a woman, that's different, that's something new. And so there becomes opportunities, which I think, we have to acknowledge that's fortunate. But there's no way that women should be left behind on this. And, once again, we're going to be left on the sidelines if we don't kind of get there early and get it shaped the way we kind of mean to go forward now. So I think that's really something we're trying to do too. And again, why we led with the Black Ferns team into this space, and then we also obviously went with World of Women because they've done phenomenal things for women in the space. So.
Cool.
NFT Melb, connect, create, collaborate.
Boom. Perfect.